And welcome to another edition of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Kyle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter to you too. And happy Easter to everybody else out there.
Yes,
We're hoping that you had a wonderful day and enjoyed the company of good family.
yes, and we definitely had a good day today with our family, and it was a beautiful day. Just like we had nice weather. It's more cloudy, but we had nice weather yesterday for the Union game, and the Union are back in the win column. So
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that was a good performance. It's a performance that you expect out of a good team against a team that is very dangerous, like Atlanta, but is in very poor form right now and not playing to their level. Rather than in the past, Union sometimes played down to teams. We saw that last week against New York City.
Hmm.
This time they get take care of business. So we'll talk about that a little bit more today. Union are back in the U.S. Open Cup and they found out
Hmm.
their opponent. And we'll have a little bit more details there, and we'll talk about the Greener Goals night, some of our observations through that.
Yep.
But before we get started, what are we wearing today?
So I am wearing last year's like One Planet top or Parley top, whatever you want to call it, their birthday top. So it's the one with the dark green with the flowers. This was a pretty good one. I know at the game actually I wore the 2023 one, which is my favorite one, the
Yeah.
one that's black with like the dark blue details and stuff. I always remember that one because it was Mikel hat trick in that game. And
Yeah,
it was
no.
rainy and whatnot. And but because we're going to talk about the pre-match top they put out. Um, and that's something different actually, because like last year, I think they only wore this one for the warm-ups,
Yeah,
and then same went for this year. But 2 years ago, they wore the Parley top for
the
the game
match.
for the match, and so anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit. So, and what are you wearing, Kyle?
I am wearing literally I actually wear this in the press box sometimes. Just a nice light top pullover with a coach's shirt underneath that I wear for coaching. Tears Jack. Yeah, sorry, I did not get the memo today once again. But yeah, no, just literally we got home from family gathering and we
Hmm.
got right to recording. So,
Yep.
but anyway, where can people find us at?
You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We also have our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com. You can catch us on YouTube at The One Team We Agree On. And on our socials, we are at TOTWAG on Twitter and on Blue Sky. And also, we have our Facebook and Instagram for The One Team We Agree On. Also, individually, you can find us on socials. I'm at silly double underscore Jilly on Twitter and Instagram, and at Jillian Almany on Blue Sky. And you, Kyle, are at Coach Almany on Twitter and Instagram and Blue Sky.
Yes, yes, I am. And so let's dive into it. A little bit of news this week before we get into talking about the
Hmm.
yesterday. Union are back in the U.S. Open Cup.
Yes.
Last time, and they're hosting, so
It's
they will
been
be
since 2018, I think, when
last time they've
they hosted.
hosted. Yeah,
Yeah.
2022 was the last time they were.
Yeah. Stuart Finley scored in that game.
No, that
No, Stu
was
scored an Open Cup game.
yeah, that was
Was it
2021.
2021?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe. Was it 2022? It was. No, it was 2020,
I don't know, but
or was that 2023? They got knocked out
no,
by.
Stu wasn't in 2020. He wasn't even on
No,
the team.
no, no. The last time they were in was
Oh,
Minnesota in the shootout.
yes.
That might have been 2023 was the last time
That
they were.
one was 2023, I believe. But
Yep, so
anyway,
2023.
but yeah, it's been
But
a while since they hosted. So
yes, so
you got people that protest and everything, you got what you wanted back in the Open Cup. So y'all better show up.
yeah,
Put your money where your mouth is. Like show up. No, but in all seriousness, I do hope people show up. It's tough if it's like on a weeknight and everything, but I get that. But yeah,
yeah,
it's a
no.
chance for a trophy. So yeah.
It is. But anyway, just a couple things. So the Union, they will host USL Championship side Indy 11 on Wednesday, May 7th at 7:30 p.m. Um, the Union fans, should they advance, Union will hold hosting rights for the round of 16.
Hmm.
They will play the winner of Pittsburgh Riverhounds, coached by former Harrisburg Heat legend Bob Lilly.
Who
And
you have a personal connection to?
uh, not really.
Kind
I
of.
kind of went to soccer camps, played soccer with my dad a couple times.
Yeah.
I was around him growing up.
Right.
So I knew who he was. I met him a couple times. But yeah, if that's considered a personal connection, yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and they'll play
Are they?
NYCFC.
Yeah.
So
So
we'll play the winner of that.
that'd be awesome if it's Union and Riverhounds, though.
That would be a lot of fun. About Indy 11, we'll talk about this more leading up to the match, obviously. But last year they lost to Sporting Kansas City 2-0 in the
Hmm.
semifinals.
Hmm.
So they've made some deep runs before.
Hmm.
And random union tie. So I saw this online. O'Donnell, I guess it's O'Donnell Quinn he's from Ohio. He is a midfielder, plays for Indy 11.
Hmm.
Was a 2014 Super Draft pick by the Union,
Oh.
but never played for them. Ended up playing for Orlando City. Um,
Interesting.
but yeah, just a random Union fact.
Those connections are everywhere.
I probably totally butchered his name, but
Yeah, it looks like Aiden, but
maybe it is Aiden.
I don't know. It looks
It's
very
like
Irish.
AOD. Yeah, maybe it is Aiden.
You know those like,
Yeah,
kind of like, Celtic kind of spellings, those
it very
Irish
well
and
could. That is,
who knows.
it could be Aiden Quinn.
Anyway,
Anyway, um, Jillian, let's
yes.
get to it. What are your thoughts on, first Union being back in the U.S. Open Cup? You kind of talked about a little bit there,
Yeah.
but are you excited for this, or, is it just like, okay, they're back in the Open Cup?
Well, basically, we've heard so many stories
We have.
about the games that the Union hosted in the Open Cup, and we were not yet attending the games at that point. So I've heard a lot of epic stories. So I'm kind of excited about that. Also, hey, the Union gets to host a team that they don't play all the time, you know? And so this could be a chance for some guys to step up maybe in this. I do like when we were in the Open Cup before, when the Union were in there, it was like they didn't seem like they were really that invested in it. And they had a very congested schedule, so I get it.
Mhm.
But you know, it's a chance, like I said, it's a chance for, a trophy. So, yeah, I hope they really go for it. You never know. So, but yeah, the last time they were in it, it's like, well, they were also in, you know, the Champions League, and they were in like all that stuff, and it's like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, no, I think the way MLS has done it right now,
Like, and the fact that they won't be in Leagues Cup. So I'm like, let's go for it, go
I'm
for it.
I'm cool with the way because
Hmm.
we've talked. It's too many games. And way
Hmm.
I'm fine with the way the league has decided to
Hmm.
break this up. That's fine.
Yeah.
I get the complaint from the other end, but look,
Hmm.
with roster limitations, all that, you really do got to figure out how to maximize your squads and do what's best for the league. I
Hmm.
get it. Having said that, Cornell has said, any, competition we're in, we're always going to try to win cups. Jim said the same thing.
Yeah.
It's coaches speak, as far as I'm concerned. I think this competition would be a good opportunity to play some of the younger guys,
Yeah.
like the Neil Pierce, Frankie Westfields. Well, he's been
He's
playing.
getting playing time.
But I mean,
But
like, I
yeah,
didn't mean Frank. I meant like CJ,
CJ,
David, and
yeah.
even like Eddie and Sal might get some opportunities. So I think from that aspect, it's good. Cavan even,
Yeah.
and then he rotate in. Now, will
Maybe Cavan gets a start.
he very
Mm,
well could. So it's an opportunity for those guys to shine.
yeah. No, absolutely.
So I'm curious, and again, we'll talk more about this as we get to closer to the match, kind of what our thoughts are. But yeah, it's exciting. You kind of now know what they have up in front of them, so we'll see where that goes. But moving on, yeah, let's get into the match for the evening. Um, Union last night hosted Atlanta United.
Yep.
And we were there. We go in early, checked out because it was Greener Goals Initiative, part of the One Planet, the
Yeah.
whole,
Yeah, because Earth Day is on Tuesday.
yep. So wanted to kind of check out because Union had advertised a couple fun things they were going to do during the game,
Hmm.
and so we went over, hung out at the Sons of Ben lot. Saw Pat, who was a guest of us. It was great catching up with you, Pat. And then we
As
saw,
well as Nichelle.
yeah,
Yeah.
we saw Nichelle. And Nichelle, I want to share this. Shout out to
Yeah.
Nichelle. She actually had on a pretty cool
Like kind of
design.
custom.
Yeah,
Yeah. And she had mentioned it. So check it out. So it's she's got the lightning bolt kit as well as the what's it called? The 4U kit. The one with the light
yeah,
blue stripe down the badge. So um that's meshed together there. Plus it has a season ticket member thing across the bottom there. She it's using some jerseys and being part of a scarf there, I believe. So and there's part of the scarf on the bottom too, and it's her El Brujo one. So I thought this was super cool.
yeah,
So that this was sewn together like that. So
yeah.
very cool.
It was very cool. And it was just great getting to talk to her
Hmm.
and speaking with her and her husband.
Yeah.
So it was a really nice time. And there was that. Tailgate was the tailgate. We like I said, we talked to a lot of people, but also a cool thing I did give the Sons of Ben credit for
Yeah.
this time was they did an Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, an Easter egg hunt for the kids. They had Easter eggs, all around like the tailgate lawn stuff. And yeah, the little kids were having fun. So,
I mean, as much heat as the Sons of Ben get, I get it, but at least again, they're trying some different things to
hmm.
engage maybe even some of the younger members of
Yeah.
the Sons of Ben outside just games, and then the older adults drink beer and
Yeah.
hang out. I think this is a really cool kind of thing
Yeah.
that they did. So credit to them. Do you want to, before we get started, talking a little bit about the event, do you want to
Yeah.
share some of the giveaways and stuff you
Yeah.
picked up last night?
Well, first of all, while we're on the topic of Sons of Ben, they have a new top out that we did get. It's we got the black version. They have a light blue version that'll be available next week apparently.
Tomorrow, actually.
Well, yeah, so but they'll have it at the tailgate next week. So it's got Sons of Ben. It's like a concert t-shirt. So
It's very much like Metallica Ride the
yeah, and
Lightning.
then it has like all the games on the back. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
I do like that. I like the concert top.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jeremy and those guys for putting
Yeah.
that together. No, that's actually one where I saw. I was like, okay, I need this.
Yeah, so I also want to share, we didn't share it in the last one, but at the last home game that there was, they gave out these pennants, which are really nice. The only drawback is they have Coors Light on it. So I have to cover that up when if I put that somewhere.
Yeah, and if you're
You know,
listening, it's
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 basically
like the
like
new jersey that they have
yeah,
this year in the background, with the lighting. But I think that looks pretty cool, and that was a nice little thing there.
yeah.
And then we went on the plaza and they and I don't know if you want, and we'll show the pictures then, but they had a calf. It was with the PA Dairy
Yep.
Farmers organization there. They had like their dairy like queen or whatever person that they have. And but they had a calf there that like, you could pet and there was like name it um Calvin Sullivan or Moop. And anyway, but they were also giving out these little rally towels. So there's the rally towel.
Yeah.
That was nice. Um, and um, and then when we went in, they were because of course it was the Greener Goals night too. This
You
is
picked
really
up the one of those.
this is really nice giveaway actually because it's a stasher. It's a basically it's a reusable like sandwich bag, and that's actually like really nice because I know they've given away like reusable sandwich bags before, but like it was more of like a hard thing. But this is actually really nice. Has the Union logo on it in Subaru. So,
Yeah,
um,
and you can use it for herbs.
yeah, you can use it for like more than like you can use it's just like a reusable plastic bag basically. And it's a nice like kind of thick material there. So, it is microwave safe. It is dishwasher safe. Nice.
So,
So yeah, so that's pretty cool.
so yeah, you got some nice stuff there.
Mhm.
And yeah, so let's share some more pictures from the
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
And we'll show a couple more things that we oops,
You want that one.
yep,
There you go.
there we go.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
There's
Like I
us.
said, I was wearing the 2023 Parley because yeah.
So yeah, this is where we saw the calf. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you could go and vote on Calvin Sullivan or Moop. Who'd you
And
vote?
I said Calvin Solving because I thought that was cute. But Moop was a good one too. I don't know what actually ended up winning. That's
Yeah,
I'd have
no,
to find out. But
yeah, if
um
anybody knows who won, let us know.
yeah.
There's
There's
calf.
Calf. It's cute.
Yeah,
Um so
that was nice.
hmm
And then they also had they had advertised it. It's a stump. I guess it's a company that takes old tree stumps and then turns them into artwork, and that's
yeah,
pretty
he's using the
cool.
chainsaw and carving and stuff. And this was advertised with the pre-match top.
Yep.
Because it has like the whole kind of wood design on it. But this is pretty cool. Yeah, this guy is carving the stuff. So pretty cool. And speaking of, I think the jersey is the next one. Yep.
So let's talk about the jersey.
Yeah, so here we have it in the team store. It's for sale. It's like $80. Um, so it's like this dark, it's like this kind of greenish, like it's like kind of a grayish green.
Yeah.
And it's I guess it's made from the recycled kind of plastics like they usually do. It's got this and you can see it like in this because I know it's hard to see sometimes on the pictures that they have online, but the subtle kind of wood ring design on it.
Mhm.
So I mean, like they're not bad. It's not
I
their best like
no, yeah.
it's not the best one. So my thoughts on it, like when I first saw it, I'm like, meh. And like, okay, the details are kind of nice on it. And, you know, I didn't purchase it, but I don't feel like I'd want to pay $80 for it, personally. But I also think it could go well with my green eyes, maybe. But even so, um, it's not one where I was like immediately like, oh yeah, gotta buy that one. But it's not bad. It's just like it's not the
I
best.
I will say this. I'm not a fan of it per se. It's not the worst one we've seen.
Yeah.
There was a couple ones
It's
like
much better than the yellow one that some teams had.
yes.
I don't like yellow that much though, so
So I will say this. I thought the little inner workings of the woodwork were really cool.
hmm
Something that Portland could, eventually
Yeah.
maybe even take, but reminds me more of like a Portland Timbers top, but
Yeah.
with the wood design. But it's fine. I
Yeah.
mean, other than it's just like you said, it's kind of like
Yeah.
So
Because like the last 2 years they were really good.
yeah. But
So,
what
yeah.
so we'll get back into it. But overall thoughts on the Greener Goals night. Do you think they hit the mark, or was it like Irish Heritage Night?
It was better than Irish Heritage Night.
I know Irish Heritage Night had some issues with weather, I believe.
Yeah. I thought like some of the things they had in the plaza were nice and
Yeah.
they did have some things, yeah,
There was
pregame.
they were making efforts, I
Yeah,
felt.
and it is very commendable that the union do so much for well, see on the players warm-up tops, you see the 2 million thing on the back and it's
Yeah.
because um they, diverted like was it 2 million tons or pounds or whatever of
Hmm.
trash and anyway, they're doing a great job of not they're being very, good about the trash. They're growing things, they're composting, their recycling, their whole initiative is really good. So,
No, it is commendable,
yeah.
and I did think they did some really nice things on the
hmm
evening with the event. I did not see any of the pre-match stuff because I was in the media dining area, just kind of getting ready.
Yeah, you see who was there though?
Yes, oh yes, we did see that a certain coach of a certain team who I was getting
Who
written.
wants to ban the tush push?
Well, look, I will say this. He is a good coach, although I was kind of giving my Dolphins fandom thoughts, and then Todd and Skylar were kind of clapping back at me like, dude, he's a good guy.
Sean
Good.
McDermott, by the way,
Yeah,
everyone.
he's a
Bill's coach.
yeah, Tim McDermott's brother. I
Yeah.
mean, he was capping back at me like, dude, he's a good guy, good
Mm.
coach, and he really is. He's a good
Yeah.
coach, and I know he does a lot. I know he's also said some silly things that have gotten out in the media. I get it, but at the end of the day,
Go Birds.
yeah, and fins up. I'm not going with the go fins. Um, and yeah, down Buffalo, whatever, you know. Although I will say, you know, Bill's Mafia stepped up a couple times to raise a lot of money for
Listen,
Tua,
they're
and
they're
they've done some good stuff.
I respect I respect their fan base and everything because they can be a lot like the Philadelphia fans and like they're very passionate and
Yeah,
you know, man, they like brave the elements and all that stuff. Like respect with all them. But
yeah.
anyway,
Anyway, this reminded me of a funny meme, a Bills meme. But anyway, the anyway, no, so that brings me to my point.
mm.
The drum striker,
Okay. It's funny because beforehand, like
we all,
I'm talking with people, and we're like, oh, I wonder who the drum striker is going to be. And it's like, oh, it's probably going to be some random like news person or someone from like a local Philly station who, by the way, we're not in Philly, so we don't like know half these people that are on those anyway. But,
it was
um,
like the person that does the on-field stuff.
yeah, it's just, yeah,
Like, why not? And here's the thing,
Rachel or
like
whatever. Yeah.
we were all sitting there going, they literally had nobody, or whoever they had canceled. But you had Sean McDermott
Why don't you
pick.
just have him do it?
No,
No,
they
no,
go,
because the
okay,
Eagles fans would
boo him,
flip.
but they would boo him. But who cares? It's Tim's brother. Just let him.
And he's a Philly guy. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
he's local, but
just let him bang it.
were none of the Eagles available? Or go grab Matvey Michkov. Let me tell you, Union, get Matvey Michkov out there, and people will go nuts. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
mean, I was kind of wondering about that, but I mean, it is what it is. It's
it
just a
is what
drum.
it is.
Yeah, exactly. Let's segue into it. You
Yeah.
know, hey, you didn't win 3-0
Yes.
against, while in very poor form, a very talented with a lot of
A
big names.
talented team with lots of big names that has been playing like dog feces. All right.
Right. You know, we complain about, oh, the union don't spend money. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, there's a catch-22, and I'll talk about that at the end. Skylar and I were chatting about that walking down to the press conference. But here's an example of a team that spent $50 million in, no, 30 million in the offseason. They had Moranchek. Last year, they got at the summer transfer winner from Atalanta in Serie A. He was coming off a very good career season, by the way. They spent in the last probably year over $50 million on three players.
Mm,
On three players.
the Union could never.
Yeah, I mean it's Atlanta being
Yeah.
Atlanta. However, you know, Manuel Latela, Miguel Almiron, you know, all these guys are big names, and they bring back Ronnie Dahlia, who fans remember was the old coach of NYCFC. 2021 wins the MLS Cup and then leaves and then comes back.
Don't even get me started on that cup. Yeah.
Regardless, you know, he's a
Mhm.
capable coach
Yeah.
with MLS experience, and you think, oh man, they're making moves to go for it again, and
Hmm.
it just has not worked out yet. Now they're still dangerous on any given night; they can
For
score
sure.
goals
I
and make
mean,
a big
Latte
game.
Lot's good,
Oh yeah, just watch him; he is quick as heck. But
He'll be missing the next game.
yeah,
He got his fifth yellow. Like anyway.
but the one thing I want to say is, with last night's win, it the Union remain unbeaten at home against Atlanta since 2019 when we first started going.
Yeah, yeah, that was
So I
our first
thought
game we went
so I
to.
thought that was cool. But we'll get into some topics here in a little bit, but you know, just a few changes
Hmm.
on the night. First, Damiani and Ua were back up top as a pairing for the second time. Ty Baribo was on the bench. The last time was in St.
Mm-hmm.
Louis when Ty was on international call-up
Right.
with Israel.
Yep.
Blake, we had heard all weekend was he going to be ready? You saw him
So
at training
saw him
on
at training on Friday.
Friday. You,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't know to the extent because you were getting questions from fans going, "Oh, what'd you see? Was he there? Was he
It's
there?"
like he came out and then I saw him come in
That's
like at the end of practice. So, from what it looked like to me, he'd trained the whole time, or at least he was out
yeah.
there. So, I don't know. Because, like, if I'm not viewing it, I don't know if he's off to the side, doing whatever, or
And you never want to assume. So
no. It's just like I know he was out there.
yeah.
So,
Um, Harriel subbed on in for Macanya, and then that moved
we
Frankie.
didn't sub in, but yeah,
But
he
yeah,
was in there. Yeah, he replaced him.
which, to be honest with you, Carnell did talk a little bit about,
Hmm.
and we'll play that clip a little later. But um, I first want to just ask, on the night, 3-0, a man down, even we'll get to that in a little bit too, was again the Union just, being scrappy on the night. This was a very scrappy
It
match.
was very scrappy. Like I said, it was very gritty. And yeah, like I liked the lineup. Like when that came out, I was like, oh, actually, I
I,
like
I
this.
I was I was okay with it. I did, like I said on the last podcast, I did want to see maybe that Ua Damiani pairing again, see what that looks like.
Yeah, that looked
And
pretty.
now after seeing that, I kind of want to go back and see what the Baribo Ua pairing looks like again.
They have some
I
flexibility there. They can
I
do
I
some
think
rotating.
I think Carnell has a very good problem here in the fact that he can switch up the front three based on the matchup.
Yeah.
I mean the forwards and just rotate them. A, keeping them fresh,
Yes.
and B, just exploiting teams or trying to
Yeah.
exploit teams the best they can.
Yeah, you get a dangerous player coming off the bench then, you
Either
know.
way.
Yeah.
Either way, you're going to get a dangerous player coming off that bench. And, I know the goals haven't come yet for Damiani and Ua as they have for Bribo, but there's good things. And one of the first topics I want to talk about is just that. I mean, first clip was just that, the first 45 minutes, it was a little chaotic, and the Union were once again creating chances, but as we've seen recently, just not able to finish. But Carnell, he kind of shares some of his thoughts on, like, how should I say this? Really what he was thinking about the performance that
Hmm.
first 45. So but before that, real quick, just share
Yeah, just
some
some shots. Yeah, that was pregame.
pregame
Yep.
there.
And shout out to Olivia there. She had like her little bunny ears on. Saw the Slocum family. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
So some cute pictures there. But yeah, here we go.
Here, let's play this one first.
The first, 45 minutes, we set the platform for the rest of the game, and he held up the play. He brought others into the game. Here was a goal threat, three big actions in the first half. One hits the crossbar with his left foot. So three big actions, and he could have contributed with a goal as well. So, I'm really happy. And like I say, we have to believe in each other, whether we start, whether we don't start. And, it's my job to keep the harmony within the group, because obviously there's expectations to start and games and this and that. So, but when we can, against talented teams, that I think you could see that's on display tonight. If you take time and space away and commit to each other, I think that's what the result can be like.
What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like Mikel Ua is like the most snake bitten player right now. There.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he gets that one but in on like what? I think it's like the eighth minute or something. Has a nice little breakaway, kind of goes back wide, tries to cut it in, and just doesn't get off a really
Yeah.
like kind of just shoots it right out. And
And you could see his frustration too. Like,
yeah, just and then there
yeah.
was that other one where he doesn't have a good touch on the ball, Damiani, but Damiani does well, wins the ball
Yeah.
back, passes it to
Yeah.
Ua, and he goes and he just like misses it wide open
Yeah.
net,
Like the
and then he hits the crossbar. There was
yeah.
four big chances there, and you're sitting there going, when that one, and then there was that, yeah, the one that hits the post. I just looked at Todd and I go, up here we go again. It was snake bitten again, and we saw this last year, and we've seen this in 2023 even. He
Yeah.
just sometimes for whatever reason he's just been snake bitten.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought that, Damiani was very aggressive. He was being a very pesky player there, in a good way. And just
He's
he's got some
pesky.
good speed and
He's doing creating things. I know forwards are judged on the amount of goals scored.
yeah,
Yes, that's why they get paid the big bucks.
yeah.
Correct. I know he only has one goal right now,
And
but there are
yeah.
things that he is doing off the ball,
Yeah.
like Ua,
Yes.
that are very, very high level IQ decision makes. Um, so I will say that, and also he's just gotten into this league. He didn't really have a
Yeah.
full, true preseason with this
Correct.
club.
It's only April. And
And I'm
so
not defending him either. It's just,
the people that are trying to say he already like that, oh, he's a bust. No.
I haven't seen that, but
No, people been I saw that on like
uh,
Reddit and stuff. Like, really? People,
okay.
yeah.
But I mean, again, there are, I get the concern, and sure, it's the same with Ua. He needs to be scoring some goals. I mean,
Hmm.
that's how you judge success. But there is some positives that we're seeing from all three of
Oh,
them.
for sure.
Um, so I thought there was 3, 4 chances. Defensively, I thought they were causing a lot of pressure, a lot of
Hmm.
turnovers on Atlanta, flustering them a lot, making
Yes.
them, I think the really biggest chance was the Almiron shot right at Blake in
Hmm.
like late in the first half. But I mean, anytime they get a run, they were getting snuffed out. And I thought Harriel, I thought Kai, um, um, Danley, Lukic, before he kind of picked up that yellow card late.
Hmm.
Even, Nate, they
Hmm.
were doing a very good job of limiting the opportunities. They were still getting some penetration, but
Hmm.
yeah, they really weren't. There was times where, I mean, that first half, you were kind of either midfield or down
Hmm.
in there in last half. So
I thought it was a really good team effort. You really saw um much more life in them than last game. But, yeah, they really like there was more of that connectedness that
well,
was
he says
lacking.
it was a
Yeah,
total team
it
effort.
really was. Like, I thought, that back line looked so much better. Um,
In the first 45,
yeah,
yes.
they're holding it together.
Um, and again, there were times, and I'll get this, but here's a team that's in poor form.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you this. This is what you want to see. Now, the litmus test, in my opinion, and I'm sure people listening, I would love to hear your
Hmm.
comments, guys, as well, what you thought of last night's performance. Do you think that against the Inter Miamis, against the Columbus Crews, even a team right now like Charlotte, who is very much winning games, handily scoring goals. They're dangerous. They're top tied with FC Cincinnati again. Of the on the East at 19. Are
Hmm.
they at that level, or are they just kind of, he kind of said in his pregame, Carnell did about it's a fair shake. This is kind of where we're at. Because Jim always used to say 8 to 10 games, you know where you're at.
Hmm.
You're in fifth place right now.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what we're seeing defensively, offensively, in your opinion, good enough to get that next, breakthrough with those top clubs? And I'm not saying Union's not a top club.
Honestly, I think that yeah, if they're clicking, they can be very dangerous. We saw the Union hang with Inter Miami. Like they, and perform in that. It could have at least been a point there. We saw them beat a good FC Cincinnati. We see them like have some actually good performances against teams, on the road, in fact, even, seeing this. So I do think that they could take it. I think a real good test is going to be when they play Columbus.
Agreed.
But
And
you
then you
know,
have Miami a week or two later, and then you got Atlanta rematch here.
hmm
on the road.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought this was a really good performance to get them back on track and give them good momentum into another match where they do need to go get the 3 points against DC. So again, I feel like they righted the ship a little bit, and it helps that it was at home and Andre was back and all that, but um, I do feel like there was just definitely more confidence in this match. Like I said last week, I'm like, that was uninspiring. No, this one was very, like I said, very gritty, very, um, you know, connected.
Yeah. I will say this. I think against mid-level, low-level teams, if they play like this, they will be fine. Where I kind of draw, and again, I'm not trying to be Negadelphi here. Where I kind of draw the line is the Sullivan goal.
Yeah.
Before that, they had 6 or 8 chances in that box.
Yeah.
And I even said it's like a cavalcade of blunders here.
Hmm.
People jumping over on each other, and it was just like, what are we doing here? Like we
Yeah.
couldn't get the ball even forward, it was just
There's a bunch
bouncing,
of chaos there.
just a bunch of chaos, and we've seen this before. But
Hmm.
just the not finishing your chances you brought up about if they're clicking, and we have seen them click at times. But if and I know teams have ebbs and flows. Frankie
Hmm.
talked about that with you earlier in the week when you spoke with him. But if they want to get to that level,
Hmm.
then they have to be creating.
Yeah.
And much more consistent. They have to be finishing. Ua has to be putting those shots in the net. And then
Yeah.
if you are, okay, now that looks pretty good, and now you feel a little bit more confident. But
Yeah.
having said that, to your point, on that all that chaos, ball goes to Quinn. Quinn buries the shot. You are
Yeah.
up 1-0,
Yeah.
and
It
it's
comes
like,
off his
okay,
chest to his foot and bam. What a goal though, too.
oh, it was a beautiful goal, and
That should be a goal of the week contender.
again goes back to a very nice season. I know people are now starting to say, he deserves a call up with the U.S. national team. And he's having a nice season. Yes, there's still moments like NYCFC last week where yeah, he was good at times, but again, maybe sometimes just does a little tries to do too much.
Hmm.
But last night he was very very effective. So
Yeah. Real strong night for him.
it's yeah, just the consistency there. But goal and assist, you can't argue much more
Yeah.
with that. And I'll be curious to see if he gets on. He'll probably at least at the minimum get on the bench of the match day.
Yeah. And it'd be well deserved because he did, yeah, with the goal and assist. And I thought it was just a really strong night for him. And for me, I had to remember, oh yeah, that was his first goal this season because um, he's had assists and just he's been so like,
Leads the team in
he's
assists.
in there. Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, that is his first goal of the season. So
So yeah,
yeah, so good for Quinn. What a goal.
what a goal. And then well, after the first half, you didn't get that second goal on. What I would love to say was, and I'm going to talk about the Jovan situation here in a little
Yeah.
bit, but Union go up 2-0. A great turnover by Kai finds Damiani, who dumps it off to Ua. Ua finds Danley again, which you're just really happy slots it
Yeah.
through. Brad Guzan
Yeah, he megged him.
2-0, and you're like, okay, because prior to that, Atlanta came out pushing for that equalizer, kind
Hmm.
of opened up the field. Union kind of caught them on turnover. And again, Carnell spoke about that's the kind of goals you want to see, that transition. And he's right. If you can do that kind of playing, they're gonna be very good.
Yeah, it was great to see that goal for Danley. I found it first of all, seeing him nutmeg Brad Guzan. That was great. Um, and just the pure joy on Danley's face. Like I was like, oh, like that's, it makes you feel good though, because he kept, he'd have shots. He scored for Haiti, recently and everything,
Mhm.
but like, he'd have these shots and they'd sail over or just, and like he finally gets it. So, that was great to see. He got to bang the drum at the end of the game. So, um, great for Danley, and hopefully there'll be more to come for him on that.
Yeah, I want to hear everybody's comments What'd you think of the attacks on the night? What'd you think of Danley? How his performance was? Again, leave a comment. Let us know. I do want to get to Carnell's comment here on the whole Jovan Lukic thing. I mean, obviously picks up a silly yellow card.
Yeah, the
He
first
needs to
yellow
be
was
better.
dumb because he kicks the ball when there was going to be a free kick. He kicks it like into the boards there or whatever.
Yeah.
It's our instinctive.
So just to kind of before we play
Yeah.
this clip, um, just to get to that point, then he has that, there's that free kick. And he's just standing there, and you're on yellow.
He stands there, he doesn't get away. And then like of course the Atlanta player just kicks it as hard as he can right at Jovan.
Yeah, and
Basically, gets him that yellow. But like Jovan needs to move out of there, be aware that that's
if you're watching on TV, if you watch that game on TV, and it was either Scott or Todd pointed this out to me that as soon as that happens, you see Harold just kind of put his head down and walk away like, dude, you gotta be better.
yeah, like I mean, here's the
And
thing, like where I was, it was harder to see exactly like what happened there. So just a lot of people are like, what the heck? And but like, yeah, when you look at it, is in that first one too, it's like you can say, oh, those are soft, but I mean it was pretty textbook, like, yeah, that's a card. Like it it sucks, but he's gotta do better there. I
he
mean,
does. And
so
again,
hopefully he learns from that.
kind of like Makanya, you kind of
Yeah.
learn from these mistakes. So again, he's had a very good season,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
this is a growth experience, and now let's see how he grows and develops. Having said that, I know before we get to this clip, well, actually, no, I'm going to save that thought for a
Yeah.
second, but let's play the clip.
Nature and the way we coach that even when we play 10v10, we overload guys 9v9 plus 3. We have 12 versus 9 when the other team's in possession. So, I mean, there's just different scenarios we come up with. And the way we play, our orientation is always the ball. And if we shift and connect in numbers, now we make an even game. So, the furthest guy away from the field is the least dangerous guy. So, we want our guys to still be brave and active, even though we were a man down, and it showed. It's a little bit in the first half, we told the guys at halftime I think we had 8 moments where we win the ball in transition and we gave it away straight away. So, the ability to connect in transition is massive. And the way we scored Danley's goal as well, connecting in transition, 2-3 passes, and now we make a big play and score the second goal. So, credit to the group. I'm really proud of them. Massive, because you're never going to be able to shut out a team like Atlanta.
All right, well, I'll get to that one in a second here. And I'll stop sharing. But so he talks about right
Yeah.
there. Just just when they're a man down, he goes off and it's 2-0. You're thinking, oh, it's only 55th minute. We've seen crazier things
Yeah.
happen. But to Union's credit, while it opened up the game, obviously being a man down for Atlanta, they started creating some chat
Yeah.
attacks. The Union, for the most part, now I know like McConaughey comes in and
Yeah.
like you even texted me, you're like, are they parking the bus? Well, yeah, but they still really can't afford to totally do a full just sit back and
Yeah,
defend
they got
because
it.
they still got to keep pressing for
Yeah.
that third goal.
Right. Because if they get that third goal, okay, it's like,
Then, and once they did, they kind of just sat back and
yeah.
let the game come. But Atlanta was pressing now, went full force, and they had some opportunities. You started to see the defense
Yeah.
kind of break down. And Carnell will talk about that in later clip. But overall, just again, credit to the Union. They bent a little bit, but they didn't break and they held form.
Yeah.
And, Glesnes, Harold, Westfield, Wagner,
Yeah.
um, all of them, again, just that back line did a very nice job.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, like, I was like kind of forgetting that they were down a man half the time.
They
Like the
were.
way they were playing, I was like, you could barely tell that they were down a man. Like they were really controlling it well, and credit to those guys. Like they really adjusted, and and then yeah, you bring in I thought Makanya did a really good job once he came
Yeah.
in. And then
He brought Baribo in.
yeah, I bring Tyne, and once they got for the third goal.
Well,
Um, you
and
know, yeah, then you get Rafa and you get Bedoya in there and stuff. And, I just thought they really did a good job communicating and, you know, being aware of where they needed to be.
they did. And to your point there, after that Blake save,
And
even
Andre was so good on the night.
even a little bit before that, and if you listen to the Atlanta radio call,
Mm-hmm.
after that second goal, you could see the frustration building on the Atlanta players.
Yep.
When that third goal even starts, that ball goes right through. Kai crosses the ball, no one's
Mm-hmm.
there, which is a problem. Somebody should be
Mm-hmm.
crashing, but ball kind of pops through, gets out. Quinn Chase runs all the way down, stops the ball, no one's even near him,
Yeah.
dribbles it, crosses it, header right in goal, and
Yeah.
it's like, what you got? Like, Todd
Yeah.
goes, for as talented this team is, they don't care. They just kind of gave up.
They
And,
really did.
you know, it was kind of like, man, all that money. And if you're an Atlanta fan right now, you're just like, what are we doing?
And granted, Atlanta, they had to sub off two players like in the first like 30 minutes
Okay,
with injury. So they had to,
adapt.
adjust with that, but
But
still.
it was like like the Union played so scrappy. Even a man down, they just basically wore Atlanta out to Atlanta was just like, all right, let's get out of here and go home.
Yeah, when you're playing up a man and you're getting worn out by the the other team.
Yeah, so that brings us to the final comment. And that's about Andre getting his 100th career shutout.
Yeah, congrats to Andre.
Yeah, so let's get that click here and we'll play that video.
Atlanta, right? The chances that they created, and I think when it's 11s v 11s, I think we nullified and mitigated exactly what we were trying to do, and the game plan really worked in the way according to how it unfolded. When they go a man up, they're going to start creating an overload here and there, and then you need people to make big plays, and I think blocking crosses from Lennon, stopping supply, of which we couldn't do the whole night, and then it's duels in the box and winning your header, and if you don't, then you need a goalkeeper. So you need a lot of things and a lot of commitment to fall into place for you to keep that clean sheet, and everyone dug real deep tonight.
Yeah, Andre was phenomenal and he made some really big saves late in the game there and just came up huge. Um and actually it was around that time too. The River End started chanting, just kind of singing some Bob Marley. That's one of the goal celebrations there. I
Yeah,
forget which one. That might have been the first goal.
yeah. So we'll play this in a little bit on
Yeah.
the way out, but I just want to pull that up.
Yeah.
But
But,
anyway, no, Andre has that big save.
mhm.
I asked Carnell right after that was Todd's question. Right after Carnell, after Todd, I asked him what he thought about Glasses on night because Glasses had some up and down moments,
Yeah.
but he was man marking at the beginning of the game, Latte La, and he kind of kept him at bay. And then when
Yeah.
he went man up, I kind of went back and watched a little bit. Harold and him started switching off a little bit, especially when McConaughey came on.
Hmm.
So, um,
Yeah, I thought it was a much better performance for Jacob. I
I
thought,
thought
yeah.
Harold was good. So
Yeah, Nate's been great, like with his flexibility.
so my question is, now we talked about the forward flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have center back flexibility,
Sort of, yeah.
sort of, until the union now got all this money. You hope during maybe now or in the summer they kind of go get somebody
Yeah. And
that they can maybe get another young center back. Maybe
yeah.
wait.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Neil get a chance, but
Yeah, but again,
this is, I mean, it's good to know that Nate can be very serviceable at center back when
but you need
like
somebody
Frankie's
else.
been doing a great job in
And
there.
that's the other thing. If
Yeah.
Frankie's doing a great job, what do you do with Nate? I mean,
And then you got Bizo who's hurt right now, and where's he
yeah.
go?
So
Like,
there's
yeah.
some interesting things, but my thought is, again, I'd love to see Neil, but is he fully ready? Don't say it what I think you're going to say, that Marlon said. I don't know if you're right. I think right now you still would roll with Makanya at this
Yeah.
moment until Jan's fully ready. I think once
Yeah.
Jan's back, you'll see Harry Iglesias, Jan.
Yeah, for the amount he was in last night, I thought Makanya did a really good job.
He did. So I mean, they're getting, these guys are getting learning. Maybe they're not ready. Maybe they'll never be ready. But they're at least giving you some glimmers at times,
Hmm.
and that's fine. The biggest thing is, what do you do next Saturday against DC now that Jovan's out? What do you want to see in that back pairing with Danley?
Yeah, that's the big question. I mean, yeah, do we see Indy or Ale,
I mean,
in
we heard a
there?
couple names. I mean, obviously,
Will Bueno
ideally,
be, healthy to,
I
be in
mean, do
there?
you see? I mean, if Bueno's healthy, would he even make the start? I mean, I've heard some people say Ale.
Hmm.
I mean, okay. I mean, you could put Indy back there. He did against, I forget who it was when Damiani I mean, not Damiani. Danley
Hmm.
was on that call up. He played back there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really not his position. I don't know. It's an interesting point, because then what you
Just
do?
just put Nate Harriel up there.
I mean, do they do that? I
I
mean,
mean,
real all seriousness,
we've
do
seen
they?
Nate
But
fill
I think in
no.
all seriousness, maybe a Bedoya, maybe
Yeah.
and then Indy kind of backed at the 10 or vice versa. I think you have some options there. I'll be curious because we did see that one version. I don't know if he'll go back to that because I don't know if the matchup dictates
No,
that. And
it
I
depends
don't
on the
think,
matchup.
and I really think with Benteke and some of
Hmm.
their other pieces, while again, this is the DC team is kind of like Atlanta, but probably even worse is like again, if the Union, even though they don't have Yvonne, they cannot play down to DC.
No.
But we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But overall, very scrappy match on the night. With tonight's match, Ua got reached 50 goals, assists in MLS. He became the sixth player in club history to reach that mark. So congratulations, Mikel.
Yeah, he gets a lot of undeserved
Hate.
hate from people. Um,
But he hit a nice little milestone
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Ty Bribo
Hmm.
still remains the MLS's leading scorer at
Yes.
7.
Yes.
Union had 10 shots, 4 on target compared to Atlanta's 13 to 8. So Union were outshot.
But, as Jim once said, possession without penetration is useless. And Atlanta did outpossess the Union, of course, but you
But I
know.
mean, again, Union currently now, fifth place, like I said earlier, 9 points out of I mean, sorry, 3 points out of the top spot in
Hmm.
the East. Um, I think this is a very good barometer of okay, if you can beat teams that you should beat, and then go against the Inter Miamis and those top guys, and maybe not always beating them, but get a point here and there. I think you set yourself up for success.
Yeah, this was definitely good for the confidence.
It really was, and we'll share some of those videos that you
Yeah,
took.
and I have to say, I wanted to say the crowd was pretty good last night.
Well, that's why I wanted to share
Yeah, that's
this.
why I want to share. And here's the thing. Yeah, I think.
That's a nice crowd there.
Yeah, and the crowd got pretty loud. It was pretty raucous. We were saying wonder how many people came from the Phillies game and they had already been
Yeah.
having a good time. And that's at the end when, they showed Union winning. So, of course, the stadium also got really loud with anger at Alan Chapman, the referee. This is Danley banging the drum here. Um,
If it plays.
yeah, so
All right.
so yeah,
Um,
actually, yeah, there was very, very hmm, angered fans about Alan Chapman, of course, because I mean, they're it took a long time for Atlanta to get a card. For I think it was, Latte Lot eventually got a card, and
Thought Chapman first half was
he
good.
was okay. Yeah,
Second half, it
he was just
just
inconsistent. Like he
yeah,
wasn't
he lets a
calling.
little too much go, and then
Yeah,
he kind of he was a little inconsistent that second half.
yeah.
Skylar was talking about that. Yeah, there's some things that he probably should on both sides
Hmm.
probably could go on the other way, but again, Union get 3 points at the end of the night. We're really not going to complain about it. The Union, rose above some questionable calls. Wouldn't
Yeah,
even say what there were some questionable calls. I wouldn't say
right.
bad calls, questionable calls, because I honestly maybe am one of the few that thought the first half, like you guys were booing, like people were booing. I'm like, that's a foul,
Well, and one thing is, depending on where you are, it's hard to see exactly what happened too, and I
Yeah,
think
because
that's
I
part
saw
of it.
Eric or our buddy Eric, and he was like, "Oh man, Chapman, man, I don't know what that was." I mean, second half, I kind of see his point, but first half, he was pretty good. So anyway, Union's got another big match coming up.
Uh-huh.
You know, uh, I would say this is a 3 point match. If you, like I said, they need 7 points these next three. Here's another opportunity to get it.
Yeah, and yeah, they do need to have a big match against DC and really bring it. And again, it's a home crowd, it's Kids Day, it's a 4:30 game. Hopefully a lot of, big crowd comes out. So,
Yeah,
I think the weather is supposed to be decent. So, the Union need to just keep building on momentum that they had, in this game and you keep it going, not play down to any team's level, but really just put on, a show of skill here and be dominant and bring that energy. And, you know, this was definitely a step in the right direction.
for sure, for sure. And also Union Two's back in action on Wednesday, 7:30. They play NYCFC
Yeah,
too.
away match. I know some of the guys from Bridge Brigade are going. I know Kyle the baby said he's going. So
Yeah,
maybe some of those guys up there. It stinks that's away and everything. And I hate that there's no replay. So I'm gonna have to kind of try to keep an eye on it when I'm at practice, I guess. But
yeah. But I mean,
yeah.
honestly, like we're both gonna be in that boat.
Yeah.
But, we'll probably have something out, some thoughts at least.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
oh,
because they're coming off a real good, but just it's been so like they keep having these breaks in between,
yeah, and I hope to get down on Tuesday to talk to Ryan Richter a little bit about that. And like you said, they're back to Kids Day. We'll have some more content out, and
Yeah, and like we kind of mentioned before, I talked to Frankie Westfield at training on Friday,
yep,
and so we talked about his rise up to this level and season so far, and his time with the U20s in Spain. Also, just his thoughts on the season, and it was his thoughts on the Atlanta match. So, um, that was real good. I put it in the article um, on our website. And so, it was good talking to him. And speaking of which, I mean, we still haven't had like a communication about his roster status,
we'll
which is
find.
what's interesting because like I mean, that was his eighth game that he's been in, so it's like, well, clearly he can't be in an off roster homegrown spot anymore.
No,
So, but we just wait to hear from, the team,
yeah,
what
I'm
that status
sure.
is.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find something out eventually.
Yep.
So anyway, that's all for this episode of the One Team We Agree On.
Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. You can subscribe to our website. You can find that on the front page. Also, make sure to follow us on our socials. And but yeah, leave us comments because we love hearing from you. And it's always great meeting people in person too. So if you see us at the games, definitely come say hi. And we appreciate everyone who's been checking out our stuff and engaging with us.
Yeah, and until next time, I'm Kyle,
I'm Jillian.
and we'll see you at the game.